Hi, everybody. I am Branden Sewell. I'm the owner of Seal Pro Painting, located in Central Florida. I'm also the host of the Off the Ladder podcast. And we exist to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately live life off of the ladder. Today, I have with me somebody from my industry. His name is Rich Bardy, and he is the owner and founder of TruCare Painters. Welcome to the show, Rich.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you could, just give the audience a quick introduction to yourself, tell them a little bit about how you got started in the industry, how long you've been in business, and maybe like your service areas and things like that.
Sure. So my name is Rich Bardy again. I am the owner and founder of TruCare Painters. We operate in the Greenville, South Carolina, upstate area. We also have an office in the Poughkeepsie, New York area, and also in Ocala, Florida, Central Florida, just north of you. I've been in this industry for 15 years now. Got started because it was just I don't know, just kind of happened. I had a bunch of summer jobs that with a company called Big Apple Painting Company that used to do a lot of college painting when I was living in New York, and just wanted to start a business and be a business owner. I was in college at the time, and I really found it very difficult to sit through courses and found it maybe too easy. So I always wanted to work with my hands. Fell into the painting industry, and then I went to go work for my now wife's parents that owned a direct buy franchise in a town called Wappingers Falls, New York, which is our old hometown. And they needed some painting done, and it was a way to make some extra money while I got out of the mortgage business. And I guess I did a good job because they referred me to some of their clients, some of their members of their buying club, and just started working. Didn't know what I was doing, but I went out and painted, and here we are today, 15 years later. So yeah,
That's awesome, man. So, with being in business for 15 years, there's obviously a lot of ups and downs that come with that. And I think one of the biggest challenges that people face, and this is what our podcast is really all about, is helping people understand what it takes to get off the ladder. And
mm,
we talk to a lot of different industries on here, so it's not just painting, and a lot of people call it different things. Some people might say off the truck, or I talked to a cleaning company yesterday. They call it off the mop. But there's so
awesome.
many
Yeah.
different sayings, but ultimately it's really all about just going from being the person, the owner who works, they say, in your business instead of on your business. It's like that myth, thing. So talk to me a little bit about what the history looked like for you as the owner. How long were you working in the field on the ladder? And what steps did you take to get to the point where you maybe weren't required out in the field every day, and what that looked like for you personally?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So I was in the field for about 5 years. Really, my target when I first started was to be the best painter I could. Local Sherwin-Williams, where we were, had something called a cut contest. They would draw weird shapes and lines on a piece of sheetrock, and contractors from all over the county would come in and try to cut as close to the line as they could. And I knew I was on to something because I won first, second, and third in that contest. And they only gave me the first place prize, but it was an extend a ladder. And believe it or not, I still have it today. Um, I was in the field for 5 years because it took me that long to kind of feel comfortable enough to start the transition out. I did have the desire there. I wasn't, I, w- I was tired, we just had a baby. My oldest was uh, maybe about 8 months old when I fully got off the brush, and it was meant out of a desire to just kind of create more. I noticed that my skill and my crews only got me to a certain uh, kind of a dollar amount, I guess. I was capping my income. And so I realized I could have a crew run, and if I wanted to earn the same income as when I was in the field 40 hours a week, I would have to sell about twice as much revenue or volume than I was producing in the field. So I had a talk with some family members, and I kind of always got fuel at a fire. People tell me I can't, and then it puts me in enough of an uncomfortable position to want to get even more uncomfortable and kind of, be like, oh, they said I can't. Like I, oh my gosh, I gotta do something about that. Like I know I can, and now I gotta prove it. So it was like fuel. First, it was my father telling me I would never be able to provide for my family being a painter. He looked almost practically disappointed because I wasn't going through the normal course of go to college, get a good job, work for somebody, do the 401k deal. I was I was in college and I just didn't like that whole I didn't want that life. So working with my hands, but coming from the mortgage business, I had a lot of experience in sales. So I took that knowledge and kind of jumped in. I got a credit card. I had really no money because we were paycheck to paycheck living in my wife's grandmother's basement, which was not ideal living conditions. So we're constantly renovating that place and pouring money into it as a way to pay rent. And I would just look at my son and said I need to make a change. So I always been the type to kind of jump headfirst into an empty pool because I think that there's opportunity at the bottom. It's either a hard landing or I could swim down there and kind of have it a little easier to get down. But uh, I again took the credit card out, had somewhat credit, and then took 5 grand out and just started buying leads, internet leads, and I started crushing those things, calling them. I was just determined. I did that for this was 2016. I just kept doing it and kept doing it and eventually found the magic and then burned through that 5 grand really fast and didn't sell a thing. And then figured out how to do in-homes and bought a little printer that was Bluetooth to a tablet, and I would type up the quotes in the home. Kind of was ridiculous on the first couple of meetings. It took a long time, but I got into a groove, um, conquered the embarrassment, and then sold my first deal. And that was for $7,500 full interior. And within 4 months, we were running 17 guys, having about 5 crews. And they were all consistent, but then that opened up the whole door. Now that we have the sales lockdown, now we got to get that production kind of ironed out. So everything was kind of done through uh, a fire, just learning to be uncomfortable, kind of liking that uncomfortability, and just doing something about it, making a choice, sticking to it, and you know, making mistakes and correcting them as we go. I mean, that's kind of like been the whole sequence of this past 15 years. Get uncomfortable, get comfortable, get uncomfortable, learn, mistake, grow. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of how that all started, you know.
That's good. And I think a lot of guys or gals who want to accomplish this, they come to this crossroads of, in their mind, they're thinking maybe to themselves, I have to figure out all of these different things to be able to make this happen. And they might be thinking like, well, I've got to have this done. I've got to have this done. I got to have all of this stuff figured out, and I have to have a perfect plan. And the reality is that that'll cause you to just stay where you're at. And so I think obviously you don't want to have no plan. You don't want to just recklessly step out and not have any type of strategy. But I think if you're waiting until you have it all figured out, or thinking, it's like having kids. Like I have so many people who like would tell me before I had kids, they're like,
Mm,
you'll never be ready. Like if
never,
you're trying to
ever.
like wait until you're ready to have kids, like don't ever have kids because you're never going to be ready. You just have
Yeah,
them, and then you learn and you adapt and you get better, and you're going to make mistakes as a parent. You just got to, it just happens, right? So
yeah.
I think
Well,
that's
my
just
first,
kind of the same with like business. You
It
know,
is.
it's the same.
Yeah.
You just got to step out, and you're going to make mistakes, but you got to go for it.
It's a journey for sure. I mean, there's always been, I think the most pivotal moments in my career, at least, has always been at my worst lows. It's coming out of those lows because, the trajectory's up. But there's always ups and downs along that trajectory. So I noticed that when we hit the bottoms hard, like didn't know what to do, home life was difficult because money was tight, or if the business wasn't producing what we wanted it to, it was always making the decision to just not complain. Like there was always that little part, like we want to get it out, get those feelings out. Okay, I got it out. I got to go figure it out, So I have
Hmm.
a big saying and I stuck with it. You can either plan to fail or you can plan to succeed because, not planning is planning to fail. And we're just now getting on board with operating procedures and committed to sales processes. Like our thing that we were good at was always just building relationships and honestly just being genuine. No sales tactics, no crazy stuff, no verbiage that's going to get you the sale. It's just providing information, being helpful. Basics like trust, understand. Be yourself, be genuine. That's always what has got us above. And with that genuinity, creating and having integrity at the same time, the people that you need and the skills that you need kind of come with that. So as long as your base is good, your foundation is good, like I just kind of feel like we're building the framework now. It's 15 years in. We got,
Hmm.
two of the best owners ever that are operating, just running with our trademark and our logo. And, the other owners are just the best. I couldn't be luckier to have the right people. Don in Florida and Alexander in New York are just some of the best people I've ever met. Like we know each other's families. This is not just the growth of a business, it's the growth of our life. And our journey
Hmm.
has used to be separate and now it's come together, and everything was always just a conversation, mutual respect. Um, and making sure that we're bringing core values to the forefront. So if anything, have your core values down. Like understand who you are as a person because who you are as a person is going to reflect in your business. Your business is just going to be a mirror of you as a person. So I get proud. I get down too. We need operating procedures. We need better KPIs. We need, more uh, kind of like training, better training and things like that. We need more leads. Like all of these problems kind of like never go away. So we're kind of
Hmm.
systemizing the process in order to kind of make that a little easier. But our core values have never changed. It's always been, we look up to God first, and then we make sure that we're always loving each other and showing each other with the utmost respect. We believe first that, the details matter, and to like we even have it up on my wall in my house, we always talk the truth and we never quit. And those are some of our core values that we operate not only for the company, but that's where we started was developing that for our families. Um, so yeah, it's always going to be an upward struggle, man. Everything is always never going to be perfect. If you're striving for perfect, like I'm sorry, like life's going to be a big disappointment for you. If I can just do 60, 70% like right, I think, most people operate in the 30 to 40% productivity. If we can
Hmm.
get up to 50, 60, 70% productivity, now you're talking, upper 5%, 1% in the world. And you can really make a difference. Your core values is really where it comes down to maintaining loyalty, integrity, things like that.
Yeah, that's good. I want to backtrack really quick. So, obviously, like a strategy for you to get off the ladder was increasing your lead volume and making sure that you could keep, crews busy. And I know we've talked about this, just in conversation offline, you and I.
Mhm.
But I used to buy leads too, and I know that's kind of like, and it's the way I was taught by a painting contractor that I used to work for. And it's a quick thing, right? It can be like quick growth, and it's like a
Quick
sales
injection
machine.
of
You just
revenue into, yeah.
yeah,
As long as you
you
can
just
sell
buy
it,
the
highly
leads.
recommend the buy it. Go, you know.
Yeah. So, but let's talk about this really quick. So, um, as time has gone on, my opinion on that has changed, and I'm just curious to hear if you would agree or disagree. Like if somebody were to come to me and ask me for advice and say like, "Hey, I want to grow, I want to get off the ladder," my and they might ask me like, "Hey, should I buy leads?" My answer would be no, absolutely not. Yes, you can grow fast. Yes, you can like make a lot of money quick, but it's not sustainable. And I don't think that it like has enough payoff. Um, and I think that it takes like a small amount of error to really like throw you into a tailspin. And how do I know that? Because it happened to me.
Mhm.
So what I would recommend if somebody wanted to get off the ladder is I would recommend like other things to focus on in their life, like can you get more disciplined in like your personal finances and eliminate debt, save money, put money aside so that let's say while you're trying to build the company up, you're not as worried about taking a paycheck. Like maybe you have 6 months savings in the bank and that gives you some freedom and flexibility. So like eliminate debt, put some money aside, shore those things up. Those would be some of the things that I would recommend. I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts would be on that. Like, would you tell somebody like, hey, yeah, if you want to get off the ladder, definitely go this route, buy the leads, take the risk, or would you have a different recommendation? And it's okay if you disagree with me.
No, I actually 100% agree. I would feel irresponsible if I told someone to go do it the way that I did and what my choice was at the time. Ours was more out of like, as I said, I make decisions, I stick to it, and I learn as I go and I correct. That's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
If I was to do it again, I would say find someone that's where you want it, where you want to go, right? Find someone that's off the ladder. Ask them their opinion, but don't just ask one, ask four. And then you can
Hmm.
strategically put things in place that can actually build your brand and not build another brand like, the trap of the Angie's List home advisor trap. Like you buy their stuff, you get a review, you're building up the profile that they have of your business on their page. You're not building your brand, you're not building brand loyalty, you're not getting that person to go back. The person that is attracted to those leads will always go back to that lead source for new work, even as a painter, even if you send them emails, even if you send them postcards, even if you knock on the door and say happy birthday to their sister and their dog and their kids. Like there just is not much, maybe a very small percentage. We found that out of the 1.2 million that we did with those lead sources in 2016, only 5% responded to call us back directly. Most of them came back through as another lead that we had to buy again when they wanted to
Hmm.
get the exterior done or the deck. So that was a big eye opener for me. And in order to grow my business,
That's
when we
yeah.
finally had some production stuff ready, like we had the crews working well, we had a good hybrid model with some employees and subcontractors. And I noticed that we were just always having to grow our territory with that lead source into different counties, drive an hour away, and it became really difficult when all I wish that I had was a consistent time set aside daily, weekly, 3 days a week, 2 days a week, doesn't really matter, to work on my business and get educated. So I could have learned a little bit about more about marketing and digital marketing and creating the website. We didn't even have a website at this point. So I would highly recommend to get some yard signs, put them in the yard. Do your maybe your 10 houses around. Like these are little things you can do to start getting consistent traffic. Join a BNI or a local Rotary Club or any sort of networking event that you can go for free. There's hundreds in my area. I just go to Facebook, start getting into Facebook and posting into like town groups and things like that. All of these things are sweat equity marketing tactics that you can get in front of large audiences without needing to spend like I did $5,000 on a credit card because that's just what I knew, you know? I was a mortgage guy. Leads
Yeah.
came in, we called, we connected, we did refis and sales. I just applied what I learned to that. It was never marketing. So cold call, you can do efficient lists. There's so many other things that you can do instead of draining 5, 10 grand into lead sources. Because I'll tell you, 30% aren't even going to answer the phone. You buy 100 at 100 a pop, that's 10,000. 30% won't answer the phone. And then you'll notice that a lot of the other your competitors, when you're looking to grow, your competitors are just looking to paint. So they're always willing to go down on price for the paycheck versus building a profitable company. So it's a trap. A lot of the contractors that buy the leads are willing to go down the prices that I don't think are sustainable for growth. You're not going to be able to grow. You
Yeah.
will make the electric bill, but you will always be caught in a rat race competing against who they claim to be a good contractor. And I also found that licensing and insurance and different things like that were left off the table. When it came to
Yeah.
the calls from the lead sources, they were providing fake documents, and we were like, you never know who you're competing against when you get those calls. It's a round robin. They don't really care as long as someone has a card on file, they're going to buy it. So I do agree with you in that sort. But there
Yeah.
are 5 different avenues of marketing. If lead flow is your first thing, but habits is probably the most important. If you spend money, you'll just make more and spend more. I was a victim of that too. I had
Hmm.
no financial education. That came when we were hitting really high profits, and then they would go away because we had nothing stored, no savings, nothing. It was just the business will always provide, and human beings. I would have stellar months, 100,000, $150,000 revenue months, and then the next month would be barely maintaining the crew because efforts went down. So complacency is definitely your enemy. Um, Not knowing about being a good steward of the money that you have. So there's a lot of resources that someone can pick up, but my first thing would be call somebody, look up somebody in your area that's doing what you want to be doing. Because I noticed that a lot of people at higher levels, especially as I started to get up, all they want to do is help. They don't see you as competition. They see you as a play, a fish in a big pond. There's so many different ways to do it that people just want to help. I've had so many. Ryan Parsons, the brothers that just do gutters, was one of the most amazing people in my life. And a lot of the other mentors that I had back in New York would be even looking up to people. George Apat painting, he was the big guy in town. I just felt blessed to even be on a competitor list with that man. But he was
Hmm.
super helpful. So yeah, I would. That's what I would do now. Don't make the mistakes I did.
Yeah.
They'll lead you down a
Yeah.
long road.
That's good. From a couple of things you said, I took a couple notes. So, one thing I wanted to mention is like things shifted for me when I read the book Profit First for Contractors.
That's
Um,
what we operate at too. Yep.
yeah, and that really shifted my mindset. I was, before I was on like this cash flow, mindset. I was like, just sell, 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 sell. Even
Yeah.
if like, because the reality is with those lead services, you have to try and have a really high conversion rate. Otherwise,
Mm,
you're just, shooting yourself in the foot with the amount you're putting out in marketing. So, it's like you've got to convert, but in order to compete, these are like people who are they're shopping on price. Most of these people who use like Angie Leads, Thumbtack, Home Advisor, they're price shopping, and so you have to be very competitive with price. Not saying that's every time, but most of the time, it's very price driven, and you have to have a high conversion rate to make the marketing spend make sense. Um, so that's one point I wanted to make is read profit first. That'll kind of change how you view that. Secondly, I just recently interviewed this guy and he used to work for Angie Leads and he was like, it's a scam. He's like, I worked on the inside. It's just such a scam how everything's set up, how they vet contractors, kind of to your point. It's like you don't know. I mean, they're at the end of the day, they want to get paid, Angie leads or whatever these other services are. So you just got to take that into consideration. Is it really giving you any type of edge? And then the last thing I wanted to say is, like, be careful who you look up to as a business owner. And social media is just, it's so riddled with, like, for example, people who are able to put out this front of, like, this is all this big stuff that I've done and everything that I'm doing, but you have no clue what their personal financial situation is on the back end. And just to give an example, I had somebody on my podcast recently, and they're all over national news for, like, this amazing business they're growing, and all over podcasts, and being interviewed by all these big names, and touting these really big revenue numbers. And then next thing you know, I get this message from one of their former employees, like, telling me of all of these financial issues, and employees and contractors and subcontractors not getting paid, and hundreds of people's jobs not getting done. And I'm like, what? This is crazy. Like, I would have never expected it, right? And then so then I dig more. I start looking into the story. I start looking up, and now the news is, like, coming out. News channels are covering it in their local market, and, like, just revealing all of these financial failures and everything. And so I say that to, like, just because you if you listen to a lot of really great business people, they explain, like, revenue is a vanity metric.
Mhm.
If you're not profitable, it really doesn't matter, and so, like, early on in my business and in my journey as a business owner, I was so focused on, like, that revenue number. I was so adamant about doing, like, over 1 million in revenue. And then and then I started learning about profit first. I started understanding my numbers better. And then I almost failed in 2022, and then I kind of rebounded from that. And then I had done way less business than I had done in previous years, but I was so much healthier because I focused on being profitable. So it was like we could do, less work but a higher profit, and be healthier as a business than, just maybe cranking out tons of work and sell, 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 sell. But if we got into a pinch or something bad happened that we couldn't control, like something with, like, a pandemic or the economy,
Mhm.
or whatever it was, a lead source, that was great for us going bad, which I think is kind of what our situation was. Um,
Yeah.
then it's really hard to rebound from that. So,
Yeah,
anyway, all
going
that to say,
through the
just
ringer.
be
Yeah.
careful what you look up to. What were you
Right.
saying?
Well, when I was in New York, I had most of my office ran myself there, so we were doing really well. But when the pandemic hit, my wife and I determined it would be better for us to move to South Carolina. So I had the I met Alexander through a fluke. My wife met his wife, and we thought maybe he would be a good subcontractor to use for some more immediate work to keep income coming in while we were packing and selling the house. Um, Met him, spent some time with him. Great guy. We share the same core values just right off the bat. Just kind of luck. So I offered, hey man, would you want to, take the brand and take over what we have going on up here? And he said, yeah, and it's been going good. We do mostly organic leads right now, reviews, posting to GMB, Facebook, things like that. It generates good revenue. Um, but when I moved to South Carolina, I knew every mistake that I made, but I was in the field for about 6 or 7 months before I found the right people. So I had to go back on the brush, but I was back off the brush within 7 months, and we were hitting really great monthly revenue numbers, floating in between 80 to 100,000 with subcontractors immediately. So When you know what you're doing and you have the right information, it's amazing how fast you can get up to where you were. But yeah, profit first. Another one's called the E-Myth. That'll kind of get you off and teach you about processes. So I found a lot of painters
Yeah.
are really great technicians, you know, and that book will speak about that. Being the technician is like 80% of businesses, but running a business is different than being a good painter. It's a
Yeah.
lot more off the brush stuff, scheduling, time management, education, getting to know. I personally was with EOS and Pinnacle. I found that those were great business entrepreneur operating systems that kind of understands pillars of business, stages of business, where you're at, how to identify how finance and leadership and sales and operations and human resources all kind of intertwine and how they get them to talk to each other, what KPIs or key points of interest to put on your dashboard in order to make better decisions. But all of that I've just gained in the past, maybe 2 years. I'm 43 now, started in this business when I was 30. Um, so, being a technician and doing all those things, like first formed our business in '08, which was first class painting service. And then we went to Paint Life. And if anybody knows the Idaho Painter, that kind of like really took a hit on our SEO, because we were just doing
Mhm.
SEO. He got a huge, huge following. And so eventually we became TruCare as a rebrand. And but now, if you just focused on your reviews on Google My Business, getting like a good website up with Wix or something easy like a designer, put 8 hours into it. And getting photos on Facebook and doing an Instagram, intertwining those, connecting those accounts, and then posting in your local town pages that hey, I'm a painter. I'm looking to paint things, like looking for new clients. This is some photos of stuff we've done. Give me a call. I'd love to answer questions. Join a BNI, free networking groups, and definitely focus on reviews on your GMB or Google My Business page. Uh, Post regular to that. We find Thursday at 5 o'clock is the perfect time to post on that. So set a reminder in your calendar, do some content because you'll get the most views between 7 and 9 on Thursday. Again at the close of the day, Friday, Saturday, and then the content will start to slide out. So you could just stick with those and probably do 5 to 700,000 in revenue just with that.
Yeah,
Don't have to
that's
pay
good.
for marketing lead
Yeah, it
call.
doesn't
You know
it
what I mean?
doesn't really it
Doesn't take
doesn't
much,
take
man.
much to get it going. So, I think really it's just like having a spirit of excellence with what you do, and just
Mhm.
follow through on the things you say you're going to do with your customers, and
100%.
you'll be fine. Um, I want to be respectful of your time, so I want to try to wrap this up here in the next few minutes. But um, you have something that I find really interesting, and I don't know if you can go into like maybe some details or like what your goals, your vision is for this, but you're one of few business owners, painting companies that I know of, that has the multiple locations and seem to be making it work. I'm just curious, would you be able to share with the audience, just whatever you're willing to, about how that works, and what your vision is for it, what you hope to accomplish, and
Sure.
yeah, what maybe the next steps look like for TruCare Painters?
Okay. So first, we're working on a kind of like universal CRM in order to keep all the data centralized in one location. We're going to be using some pricing software, intermingling that with some Zaps, Zapier connections, and Company Cam, things like that. So our focus this year is to build out our operational systems and our SOPs. Overall goal, which has changed a little bit, going back to the original plan, changed a little bit, but our overall plan is to have one office in every state in the country. That's where our goal is. Um, I don't really have a timeline on that. It was more of a 10-year goal. It could change, could be 7. I'm hoping we can do in 5. But I had a discussion with Alexander, New York, and also Don in Florida about what their goals were and what they want to do. So right now, our goal is to do each office with solid operating procedures that can consistently deliver 1.5 million per office. Once we do that,
Hmm.
there's revenue in order to hedge into a fund and or maybe 3% of top line revenue. I don't charge anything to branches. We work together. I might be the owner and founder, but I believe you need to have a good team and a good vision in order to make really anything happen because I can only do so much on my own. I think I capped that in 2016 when we ran big numbers, but I wasn't happy, even though I made a lot of money. I think 1.2 million for running sales production at the same time and being the only like registered employee, besides subcontracting and having some 1099 guys, uh, really wore me out. Our goal, as I said, is to do 50 states, and it's not going to be a franchise model. It's under partnerships. You know, everybody owns their branch. I don't have any stake in it. It's all done so far with Handshake. We're working out legal documentation to kind of bring together under an LLC that's going to be more of a holdings company to invest into those funds and take 3% of top line revenue and establish a branch model. I don't know if it's going to be employee based or if it's going to be partner based, but I love finding painters all over the world that just are, having that get off the ladder trouble. And if we could just save them from that and let them own their business and work with us and take our guidance and our coaching, then help them build revenue. We're looking to partner. Might be a franchise. I'm really not sure how that looks right now. But our goal for the next 2 years is 1.5 million per branch and start throwing 3% of top line revenue into an account and start building out a branch model.
Nice. Well, that's really cool, and I think it's an admirable vision and goal to have. And what I would say is, like, this podcast reaches people from all over the country. So if somebody hears this and it like piques their interest and they want more information on, what that partnership looks like, or maybe they're, looking to maybe see what that looks like and maybe how they could be a part of it. What would be the best way for somebody to get in touch with you and maybe chat with you about that?
Call the office or email would be the best.
Okay. Do you want me to leave that in the show notes, or do you want to share
Yeah.
that now?
They can call the office 864 692 4167. Sorry, I get it confused with my cell number because the digits are so close. So yeah, the office number is 864 692 4167. Just leave a message. I'll give you a call back, or they can email me directly at Rich at TruCarePainters.com. It's TruCare Painters.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really cool business model that you're coming up with, and man, I wish you all the success with that. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for you. And yeah,
Thanks,
it's
man.
an ambitious goal. Maybe I'll have you back on here to chat about the progress with that over time,
That'd be great. I'd love it.
and see how that's going. So just as we're closing out, is there anything that you would like to maybe share that you feel might bring some closure to this conversation and additional value to the listeners on getting off the ladder?
Um, I would just say be absolutely crazy about your goal to get off the ladder. Don't let anything get in your way of that. In order to accomplish goals, it seems like in this world we have to be almost insane to other people because most don't set those type of goals for themselves. Most are kind of complacent in their lives. So I would say be insane and absolutely dedicated. And when you're experiencing hard times, you're on the right track.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I would say just to kind of echo what you're saying is you have to take that leap of faith and commit and take those risks, and don't expect it to be easy. But I think the greatest challenge is to not quit. Um, so you got to keep moving forward. Don't look at the moments where you fall down, don't look at it as like failure, or like the ultimate destination. But say, okay, I'm going to pick myself up. What can I learn from this experience, and how did it better equip me to move forward and to pursue and accomplish my goals as a business owner? And so I think if you have that mindset, um, there's not much that can hold you back. And one of my greatest, or my favorite quotes, my mom actually handed this to me on a little piece of paper when I was in high school. I was just facing, challenges as a young teenager, and, struggling. And my mom handed me this piece of paper, and it said, "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." And I don't
Hmm.
know who the original author is of that quote, but I've always kept that near to my heart, and kind of like a, just something that I really lean on times where things get tough, is just to always remember that it's not about never failing, but if you can pick yourself up and learn and move forward, that's what it's all about. And
Yeah.
try not to let
That-
comparison get the best of you.
Yeah, I've always found even when things are tough, it was like me saying to myself, "Wow, this is hard. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna I in my quiet mind, the nonverbal conversation in my head with my other ego, is you're not good enough. Just give up. Go back to what you were doing before it was safe, right?" And
Hmm.
I found, and I think most people would probably identify with this, but the biggest fight is in our own mind. Um,
Yeah.
so mastering our own mind and speaking what we want to be into fruition in our life, like, don't talk about how hard it is. Talk about how you're going to solve it. And do that for 30 days. Watch your circumstances just change around you because your mind becomes stronger and you become stronger than the problem. Um, So I would say focus on your mind. Focus on getting your mind right. Battle that voice inside and overcome that.
Yeah.
Speak your truth. You're not good enough. You're not stupid. You're not gonna fail. You're gonna be successful. You are gonna plow
Yeah.
through this. You are gonna face this obstacle 100% like a warrior, right? We speak truth,
Yeah.
and what we speak becomes our reality. And start getting and it is true. The five people you hang out with are who you are. So
Yeah.
find someone that's going to help you mentor, keep you on track, put yourself around people that build you up, tell you the truth even when it's hard, and conquer your mind. That's going to be where I would say you're probably going to find your 99% of your struggles. We can learn our way to money. Money is, it's paper. It budgeted correctly, it will give you comforts. But when you're struggling, you're in that struggle for a reason. You need to learn that lesson for a reason. So learn it, right? Go through it
Yeah.
and appreciate and be
That's
humble.
good stuff.
Appreciate
Yeah.
everything you have
Good
around you.
stuff.
There's
Yeah.
so many gifts that we just look past because they're there all the time. Car has gas in it. Refrigerator is on. Roof is on over our head. Heat is on. AC is on. If you're in Florida, like, look at what you have. Change your mindset. So that would be, if I just had someone grill me about that, I think I would it'd be so much farther along. But I'm grateful for where I am.
Yeah, that's good. As we bring this to a close, I'll say, what you just mentioned, is probably one of the most key things in getting through hard times, is becoming grateful, and being humble. And
Thank you.
there's definitely been times where I've faced challenges in business, and I've had to step back, adjust my perspective, and say, "Oh, you know what? I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for
Yeah.
this." And in that gratitude, I find breakthrough to move forward. So that's good stuff. Well, I'm going to bring this to a close. Thank you so much, Rich, for your time and your insight. I look forward to getting you back on here at some point to talk more about this business model that you have and how you're growing, and bringing some more value to the listeners in that way. But if you've listened to this show today and you found value, if you're watching on YouTube, please like this video, comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, share this with somebody so that they can gain some value from the conversation today with Rich. And also, if you're listening on any type of major podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, wherever else you listen, please rate and review the show. That'll help get this out to more people. And lastly, if you need any resources for your business, I do have my referral and affiliate links in the show notes below. So you can check those out. I do get credit for those, so I do appreciate anyone who uses them. Helps to support me, my business, and this show. So we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Off the Ladder podcast.